We are live. Gonna check the chat and see if anybody is with us and mute. Not mute the chat, just muting the background sound of me in stereo. Not sure if anybody is around because I just picked a random time to do this. So I guess I'm gonna have to wait and see if anybody shows up. Is there anybody out there? Oh, Squirrel. I'm just gonna nickname you Squirrel. Autumn. I'm taking a different path today. Let's go down some rarely raveled. No, hey, no. Is it like no or no? Is that a name or just something funny that people say to you? Hello, Elana. Wash clothes, walk dog. Sounds good. Are you listening to me while you do that, Elena, or are you just like pop in and say hi and then you're gone? Hey, it's me, Jeremy. Do more serial killers. Hey, Jeremy. As I did say, I don't do it every Saturday. You can go through my serial killer Saturday playlist and watch them all. And I would love to see your commentary on them all so that I know that you did watch them. That's the only way I can tell if someone's watched them and listen to the stories. I think one of the first, maybe not the first one I did, was the werewolf Popkov. It's really disturbing. He was actually a cop in Russia and misled the police for years and years while he continued to kill. So I would love to see your commentary on that. But I can't do it every Saturday. It's too monotonous and it would get sort of boring. And as long as I'm enjoying it, if I don't enjoy it, you're not going to enjoy it because you're going to hear the animosity in my voice. So if I can do it every other Saturday, it keeps me happy, keeps you guys happy. And I like to mix it up because I like true crime, I like serial killers, but I also like the fantasy world that's created by the writers. So I like to mix it up. Roger. Hello, Roger Hensley. No, it's what they say every time I ask for a username. And I say, no. Okay, will do. And who is the female Jack the Ripper? There's several theorized female and male Jack the Rippers, so I would like to delve into that during a Serial Killer Saturday Unsolved. That would be quite a massive research. You can independently start researching that on your own. But there are several. One of them was, I believe, Amelia Dyer, who is, again, one of the Serial Killer Saturdays I focused on. So why don't you go back through the playlist and watch more of them? And I think you might clue yourself into quite a few of who them might have been. I think two of the most disturbing Serial Killer Saturdays I ever did was Lopez, which you regular listeners know that I've said that multiple times, and Enriqueta Marquis, whichever one it is. She might be worse than Saltichica. There's so many. You go back through history and the more power and money somebody had, the worse they were and more terrifying they were. So, and I don't like to always go back in history, but there's quite a few. What was another one? The Bloodbath Lady. It's on the tip of Elizabeth Bathory. That was educational. Because the more historic it is, the more mythical people have built it up in their mind to be. So, oh, hey, thanks. Yeah, there's a ton of them if you're looking to listen to them. The most watched Serial Killer Saturdays I have, I believe, are Madame Lalaurie and Albert Fish. Unless I'm wrong, you guys can correct me on that if you know the numbers better than I do, because you might. Okay, I have some different stuff picked out today, and you guys can let me know which one you'd rather delve into. And it's an entire site, and we can go from there. So I have picked out the SPC Foundation that we could venture into, Joel Forelli, which I did a couple of his stories, which was that's the Becky. It was an unclassified story, and then Videohead and There was something else of his that I did. And then Evan the Nerd's whole Reddit. So those two guys both have a whole Reddit. And then there's the SPC Foundation. Unless you guys have a link you want me to go to, I'm going to see who's voting for what. Hello, Droomster. I'd like to know, how did you get that name? Because I just asked Nono how Nono got their name, and they said it was because of all the times they asked for a username. Evan the Nerd. I got one vote for Evan the Nerd. Droomster, we are... Hey, Bernadette. Did you get my message on Patreon? I figured I'd try that and see if it would reach some people on there that seem to miss it a lot. I was going to schedule this for later, but I kind of feel like this day might have some unexpected events come up that I'm not aware of. And so I thought I would try and live stream while I had a little bit of time. So we are going to venture either into the SPC Foundation, Evan the Nerd's Reddit, or Joel Farrelly, who, again, he did Videohead and what was another one? I did quite a few of his. Did he do the Charity Hospital one too, I think? I always get comments on that. This story is fake. Yeah, it's fake. Charity Hospital is fake. But Charity Hospital, even without that story, is terrifying. There's a whole documentary on that too. I believe it's on Netflix. Dream is Dutch for dream. Oh! Dreamster? Is that what that means? That's pretty cool. Or does the Dreamster stand for like something else? Or dreamer? That's pretty cool. Okay, we've only got one vote for Evan the Nerd. Chat's not saying anything, so sometimes I don't know if something's happened, and that's why I'm not seeing something in the chat. Okay, so dreamer, that's cool. We are heading into the SPC Foundation, Joel Farrelly, or Evan the Nerd. This says it's doing something with the delay, but then it stopped. Okay, I've got one vote for Evan the Nerd. He's got an entire treasure trove. He's got several series. We are voting on the SPC Foundation, Joel Farrelly, which again, there was Charity Hospital, Videohead. There's a couple of them that I did from him last summer. Okay, I've got one, and then Evan the Nerd's Reddit. Let's see. Got one for SCP, and I've got one for Evan the Nerd. Nothing else here? Are we good? It looked like there was like a delay for a second, but now it looks like it's fine. The ever unpredictable internet connection. Gotta love it. Okay, waiting on some more votes before I go. I've only got, hey, black-eyed kid. Okay. SCP Foundation is secure, contain, protect. I mean, it's basically fictitious, but I mean, actually, it's very believed that it was a real or is a real thing that exists. But this isn't a whole site that's made up. I want to say thousands of stories about fictitious or possibly real government experiments or things that have found on planet Earth that cannot be explained by any rational explanation. Secure, contain, SCP, secure, contain, protect. Damn, I can't watch this. Well, I mean, you really don't get to... Can you listen? Speaking of SCPs, hell yes. Okay, SCP. Hello, Rob88. That just darkened chat. Schmeister, I forgot to say hello. Schmeister. Bernadette, I did say hi, and Rob88. Okay, I've got several votes for SCP. Sorry about whoever's voting for the Evan the Nerd. Of course, I will be doing more of Evan the Nerd's stuff in the future, so I should have told him I was going to vote. Have you guys vote on that? But then if you didn't choose him, I guess that would be kind of like upsetting. You know, so many people have done that. Bernadette, you're so sweet. Love you right back. SCP is the winner. SCP. All right, now I'm closing out the other two things because we're not going to do that one now. I'll close out Twitter too because that's just a distraction waiting to happen. Okay. Now, we can do, let's see. There's so many things. I don't know if anyone's ever been on the SCP Foundation website. They even have contests on writing new things here. So any of you writers out there that are a little more detailed and creative than I like to tend to stick to stories that are 5 minutes or less, because anything more than that, I feel like it mixes the details up too much. And plus, I love micro horror, so all of the above. I know that sometimes they have like incident reports, Foundation Tales. Let's do that. Okay, so incident reports, or and there's even creepypasta archives for that. So let's go from there. We're diving deep into the rabbit hole today. Bye, Schmeister. Schmeister. The Schmeister. Everything's looks like it's rendering. Okay. So we've got the SCP Tales Hubs, the SCP Incident Reports, and the SCP Creepypasta. Dun dun dun. Let's see what you guys want here. You want creepypastas, Foundation Tales, or incident reports? Eyewitness reports is what the incident reports are supposed to be. You might hear me take a sip here and there. Throat's really dry. Ooh, I don't know if anybody else has allergies, but this allergy season has really, I think, been on a mission to try to murder me. Oh, creepypasta, that's some deep web shit. No. So we're on the SCP site, and we've nailed it down to SCP Foundation Tales, SCP Incident Reports with eyewitness reports, or creepypastas. Incident reports, creepypasta. So we got one for each of those. Got one for each of those. Who's going to break it? Who's going to break the tie? Incident reports, got 2 for that. I'm going to watch you guys vote. Some people don't like to vote. They just like to listen, which is fine. Incident reports, I feel like, is going to be the funniest thing. So incident reports, that's what we're leaning toward. Let's not keep this waiting any longer. So then, do you guys like it when I let you choose? It's like a choose your own story without actually choosing your story. Within this, they've got experiments, exploration, incidents, interviews, and supplements. Sometimes they have comedy tales, which I find the funniest. Incidents. Let me see here. Incident reports. All right. So I will just try to weed through this. There's interviews even. Wow. Supplements. I don't know what that means. Sometimes they're on here, like, they try to make it look so official that they've like blacked out names and dates to make it look like it would be a breach of security if you read that, which I find like a detail I can appreciate. You know what I mean? I can appreciate the detail. Also, it's garbage day on our street, and it's nice outside, so my windows are open. And the garbage man is just now making its way down our street, and it's 11 o'clock. It's not a usual time, just saying. Ooh, incident reports, creepypasta. Ah, so cute. Yeah, so cute. Okay. And we've got experiments. All right. Let's go to experiments. All right. So let's see. Roach wrangling. That seems odd. Let's just see what this has to say. We'll just leave this tab open and go from there. This one is called Kairu Labs Roach Wrangling. Note to all researchers / roach wranglers. Please include your name and department on all records, along with a brief description of the roach instance observed. Be sure to correctly process any roach instance encountered. Kairu Labs not responsible for any irresponsible roach wrangling. Refer to document SCP. Okay, let's just see what the hell are they talking about. Encounters. Roach logs. Roach wrangling. That doesn't make any sense. Oh, I went to oh, these aren't opening. Okay. And let's see if they've got, we're gonna go from there. Roach wrangling. Oh my gosh, if I should show you guys this picture. They've got a roach on, well, like a real roach on carpet smoking a cigarette. SCP 724/J-J. Object class. And just looks like an angry face. Bucks given, none. Special containment procedures. SCP-724-J is to be kept in a standard containment locker. Staff are advised not to interact with, feed, or otherwise encourage the continued existence of SCP-724-J. Now, they've got this roach on a carpet smoking a cigarette. Like, it literally is a roach on a cigarette butt. Looks like it's trying to smoke it. Now, they have this part, like, blanked out. And it says, in addition, SCP-24-J is to be continuously loaded in a freight train, flying like an aeroplane, feeling like a space brain one more time. Tonight, I'm on the night train. Someone has blocked that all out. And then it says, it's blanked out like this small paragraph. And then at the end it says, SCP-724-J is no longer permitted within 5 meters of a computer keyboard. So it's acting like the roach has hacked into the computer. Oh no. This doesn't make any, this is funny. Description. SCP-24-J is a Perplanta americana, American cockroach, believed to be the younger brother of SCP-723-J. It manifests in its complete disregard for morality, the feelings of others, the rules, and proper hygiene. It has developed asthma from its tobacco addiction, has failed to file tax returns for 7 years in a row, has been implicated in a string of shoplifting incidents in Texarkana, and has been known to drive its 1997 Harley-Davidson FLH or Road King while drunk from Costco store-brand whiskey. I didn't know Costco had a store-brand whiskey. I have to look into that. Speaking of smoke, I think I'll have one. Excellent. Hello, Redwall. Hello. If I missed anybody else, let me know. We are diving into SCPs this morning, and we've stumbled onto a comedy one. This is an incident report of the SCP-724-J American cockroach. Doctor, and the doctor's name is blanked out here. I'm not going to mince words here. He needs to get his act together. We're all very worried about him. His brother must be rolling over in his grave. Saying that SCP-724-J is the younger sibling of SCP-723-J. Dr. Blank. You know what? I think he's the reason why his brother is so sad. Maybe if he gave Sad Roach a better chance to connect with his only living family member, both of their lives would have improved. But 724-J won't open up to anyone because he thinks he'll be emasculated, and it just makes me angry. 723-J deserved a better family member than this. Okay. Upon initial contact, SCP-724-J has been seen leaving Roach Motel Pest Trap at Site 19, along with SCP-72-J, after a 5-hour firefight with security staff and a total of 13 Foundation casualties. Primary containment was established upon apprehension. Should I continue? Is this comedy something you are appreciating? Oh my goodness. This is kind of weird, but I like it. Let's see. SCP-724-J intake log. Interviewer, Dr. Lyle Naismith, interviewed SCP-724-J. So this doctor is interviewing the cockroach as he has entered the facility. Dr. Naismith, Do you think this kind of behavior would have made your brother proud? Silence. Dr. Naismith asks again. Well, I can sit here all day if I need to. Silence from SCP-724J. Dr. Naismith, wait a minute. How did you get tiny sunglasses? D2999 enters. Sorry to interrupt, but some guy from Pizza Hut says he has $5,000 worth of extra large plain pizzas to deliver to Dr. Lyle Naismith. Dr. Naismith, how the hell? SCP-724J. It has like teeny, 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 tiny writing next to it, like it's saying something. Dr. Naismith, Badge Roach, no. Footnotes, Hooker Roach has not yet been contained. Footnote number 2, where did it get a human-sized shotgun? Something else. While it was funny, I think let's go back to the choices of, I think anything that we do in the incident reports are going to be something along the lines of comedy, and there's just too much stuff to weed through here. So I think I'm going to take us to Joel Forelli's since it's been a while since I read anything of his, so hopefully he doesn't get mad at me. I'll send him a message later and make sure it's all right. I know that there's been a big issue with narrators and Redditors, but I will assure you that I have repeatedly contacted these guys and asked for permission before I narrate their stuff because it's just the polite thing to do. I know there's a thin line between what is believed to be acceptable and usable for the public's. Oh no, I just moved from the chat. Well, I'll come back to the chat in a second. Hopefully you guys are still there. There we go. All right. It moved me away from the chat for a minute, but I know that I'm still talking, so it's all right. It's all right. Hopefully it's all right. I didn't move from where the microphone is connected, so I should be good. 8 watching now. Well, I haven't bored 8 of you, so that's a good sign. Okay. Let's go into Joel Forelli's stuff. Posts. Yeah. He's got a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. This is called the Devil's Toy Box. Let me just pick 3 things here. The Devil's Toy Box, My Grandfather's Secret Deathbed Confession, or If You Can Read This, There's Still Time. I'd like to do a choose your own ending for a video. I think that would be really, really fun. I know that I think it was Dr. Creepin was going to do one, and then someone else was going to do one a long, long time ago. I don't know if that ever came to fruition because if you think about the interconnecting stories, how confusing that would be to put together, that would take a ton of work. So, let's see here. It's still working, right? If you can read this. Okay, so if you can read this, there's one. So we're voting for the Devil's Toy Box, My Grandfather's Secret Deathbed Confession, or if you can read this, there's still time. So we've got 1 vote for that. We've got 1 vote for the Deathbed Confession. It's a tie. It's a tie. It's a tie. It's a tie. You guys can vote on whether you like this voting system or not, too. Also, excuse me, art and story contest. So I've only gotten a couple of stories and 1 art submission. So far it's going to be really easy to pick the winners. 1 vote for each so far. Deathbed. Ooh, it's leaning toward deathbed. Uh-oh. Oh, what's it gonna be? If you can read this. Oh, now it's tied again. Break the tie. Somebody break the tie. Somebody break the tie. Somebody break the tie. Ugh. Ugh. You can't see me, but I'm like flinging my hands back and forth. No, deathbed. If you can read this. Oh, boom. We've got a winner chicken dinner. If you can read this, there's still time. By Joel Forelli, but he goes by Mr. Clarence Worley on Reddit. Again, I have spoke to Joel many times, done a lot of his stories. So this is from 2 years ago, actually. So if you're ready, buckle in. He's a pretty good writer. So, okay. You're probably going to read this and think this is a joke. That's what it wants you to think. It assumes, like most people, you won't bother to look between the lines. You've got your own problems, your own mouths to feed. You have work in the morning and no time for bullshit. Right now, all you want is a well-crafted lie with a nice, tidy bow on it that says, it's just a story, something put here to help you fill the hours between usefulness to the species and your inevitable demise. You are the real main character, and all your dreams will come true if you want them hard enough. Shit happens when you party naked, but don't worry, because in the end, you'll always get the girl. A bit of free advice. If someone tries to sell you on that reality, start running. They're not your friend. They're a fucking lizard person. And no, I'm not saying that they're actually a lizard person. Lizard people don't really exist. That's debatable. Physically speaking, they're more similar in appearance to amphibious and amniotes, like the nude, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. You're not going to want to believe any of this is true or that I'm actually talking to you specifically, but I am. Make no mistake about it. I've typed your name into this document 1,000 times, but it keeps erasing the words. There's a limit to my power. A limit that it skirts wherever possible, so please pay close attention and not to my errors. One night when I was 7, I awoke from a deep sleep to hear a sound outside my bedroom window. At least it started as just a sound. It was eerily beautiful, like a choir of robotic angels and a Casio keyboards for vocal cords. Then the sun came up. It was the middle of the night, and of course, what I was seeing wasn't really the sun. That's just how my child's mind interpreted it. At some point, I had begun to hover above my bed, and then my window opened all on its own, and I glided out through it. I was carried up into the night, growing higher and higher until the false sun's cold yellow light began to envelop me. That's when I was told the truth about what we perceive to be reality, what it calls the real truth, and that knowledge is normally something I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. It already knows everything anyway. But that's neither here nor there. Everything I'm about to tell you is for your own good. I awoke the next morning to find that the world around me had taken on a number of changes, the most important of which being that I had become essentially clairvoyant. When I use that term, you probably picture me gleaning the future from little movies that played in my mind's eye like clips from the next time on for some gritty HBO series. Sadly, the truth wasn't nearly as convenient. See, the way all of that actually works, time and space and destiny and all that kind of stuff, all of it is more or less dependent on a species of fourth-dimensional shapeshifters that, in their natural state, resemble vaguely reptilian bipedal life forms who we're going to call smedgeheads, because secret amphibious world-building dicks is a little wordy. Also, Jesus, I don't say this stuff out loud a lot, and sometimes I forget just how dick in a donut crazy it must make me sound. I mean, I knew, but wow. Anyway, that's the writer, by the way. I'm going to side note that, which I already find funny and relatable. So, moving on. I'm going to check the chat, make sure everything's cool. Everything cool? Are we still here? Are we still on? Okay, moving on. All right. As fourth dimensional beings, Smeg heads, it's probably smeg heads and not smedge heads, perceive time differently than you or I. They also don't age and are basically immortal. It's worth noting that smeg heads can be killed, but it requires something comparable to a sun collapsing on them. Now, at the point in a species evolution where they become essentially undeadable, something interesting happens. Quality entertainment becomes more sought after than a hot girl with good credit and 3 breasts. If you find that hard to believe, just think about it like this. Since no one can die, the general population has to stop reproducing to keep itself in check. And even though the smegheads would probably never admit this, in some ways, fourth-dimensional lizard people are actually pretty similar to us puny three-dimensional primates. Specifically, since their every action was no longer ultimately motivated by the constant desire to get laid, they were very likely to stop caring about anything else. Which is why, in an effort to stave off a growing species-wide apathy, smegheads began a movement to use their ability to engineer three-dimensional universes to create the most truly perfect medium of entertainment that would ever exist. They would begin to break that shit down to a science, namely, our science. In the simplest terms, smegheads had the ability to create what is generally referred to as our reality, in our reality as everything, and seemingly from scratch, though from far away enough and all that. Meaning all those various divisions of unflappable rules we call chemistry and physics and all that, smegheads dreamed it up. Every last natural law. Oh, and that ever-expanding universe that we live in? It's nothing more than the byproduct of a period in popular smeghead culture when fabricating elastic universes that comprised of big spinning balls of chaos was all the rage. The version that we're currently running just so happens to be a variant specifically designed to spawn sentient life. Lucky us, huh? Now, if you were somehow able to follow the preceding paragraphs, then congratulations. You are a lunatic. Also, and I am, fair warning, from here, it's only going to get worse. I've explained all of the above so that I can provide some context as to why it gave me the ability to perceive smegheads. And I mean all of them. Not just the few truly unlucky suckers who got roped into having to portray permanent roles in our visible reality, like powerful heads of state or CEOs of multi-billion-dollar corporations. The ones that are actually dumb enough to let their human disguises slip from time to time. I mean all of them, but especially the billions of completely invisible smegheads sentenced to forced labor in this three-dimensional universe, and whose collective efforts act as a proverbial hand of fate. What that means, and these lesser smegheads are essentially slaves forced to use their ability to alter space and time, to orchestrate the type of events we call karma, or if you prefer to sound like a radio personality from the 1940s, comeuppance. I know I pronounced that wrong, I'm so sorry. Their actions are dictated by whole armies of unseen directors, tasked with generating an endless supply of live around the clock, sorry, it looked like a D, entertainment they can then record and package for the amusement of the rest of the smeghead masses. Of course, there's still stuff like coincidence and random chaos and all that, but honestly, hasn't there been at least one moment in your own existence where you were sure that the universe had to have a super sick sense of humor? That was probably the work of the smegheads. They're big fans of anything cruelly ironic, and are often drawn to acts of extreme selfishness and or depravity. They find human emotions inherently amusing, and are impressed whenever they discover someone who appears to act in direct defiance of any type of moral compass, or a basic understanding of right and wrong. And yes, that means Hitler was almost certainly their fault. Basically the smeghead equivalent to the films of Michael Bay. Once you've watched the smegheads long enough to learn how to identify the signs when you see them, it actually becomes quite easy to spot what's coming before it happens. Sort of the same way you can always guess the killer in a Law and Order episode by picking the most famous guest star. Alright, it's a little more complicated than that, but like I said, We don't really have time for me to waste on stuff like perfectly accurate analogies. So I'll just let you so I'll just tell you about the traffic accident that was destined to kill 44 people, including my mother. She had carpooled to work for years without incident, and then one day when I was about 12, I spotted one of her coworkers pulling up to my house. I had just started heading toward my bus stop at the end of the block when I saw the approaching sedan and froze in my tracks. There were 3 smegheads perched on the roof of the car. Of course, by this point, I was already well acclimated to their customs. These particular smegheads weren't looking at my mom or anyone in the car itself, which meant the pending accident was most likely karmic retribution for someone completely unrelated. My mother, and the rest were merely collateral damage. I knew it was going to be an accident based on the smeghead's color. The ones bound to our reality are able to interface with it through some sort of physiological process that is reflected in their appearance and body language. Neutral colored smegheads like white or gray meant that some kind of accident was about to take place. White represented innocent targets. Gray, not so much. Red meant an act of intentional physical violence was going to occur. Yellow and orange represented varying levels of natural disaster and so on. As soon as I saw the squatting smegheads, I sprinted back toward my house, cut across the lawn so I could block my mother's path as she exited the front door. I began to beg her to stay home with me, though the only excuse my panicked 12-year-old brain could think of in that moment was that I was about to have diarrhea and I was probably going to miss the bus, meaning she would need to give me a ride to school. With a roll of her eyes, my mother sighed and went to tell her coworkers to leave without her as I hurried back inside. When I heard her re-enter the house a few moments later, I made a good show of imitating the groans and other various sounds one tends to produce during a dehydrated bowel movement. You should probably make a note of that. If you're going to try and secretly save people from their own fateful demise, theatrical skills are something you'll want to hone. I'm going to check the chat and see if everybody's bored out of their mind. Are you guys liking the story so far? Let me see here. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy storyline. Oh, that's cool. Alrighty. Okay, going back to the story. And sure, out of context, it might not have been my proudest moment, but it was also kind of hard to feel embarrassed about my actions after the morning news began to report the vicious pileup that had just occurred not a mile from our home. It claimed 43 lives, including everyone in my mom's morning carpool. For what it's worth, she never questioned the validity of my bathroom breaks again. What a happy ending, right? That's what I thought too. Turns out I was a fucking idiot. Oh my God. I heard my mother say with a gasp as I finished filling the toothbrush cup with water and began to pour it into the toilet with slow spurts. What? I shouted through the closed bathroom door while making a fiend and vaguely uncomfortable tone. I could hear the TV in the kitchen and already had a pretty good grasp on the outcome. As I turned back to refill the cup, the cabinet below the sink flew open and a single smedhead began to crawl out. Its wrinkled, sinewy skin was a shiny black that I had yet to catalog before. The fact that I could see them had never seemed to be much of interest to the smegheads until now, and before that moment, I hadn't had one even so much as return my gaze, so it was a bit of a shock when this one tackled me to the floor. It straddled me and knelt with his knees buried into my shoulders, pinning me in place. I started to scream and the smeghead jammed its slimy, disfigured hand into my mouth. My body went rigid as what felt like a massive static shock tore through me. My vision blurred, then faded to black. When I could see again, I found myself watching my own earliest memories as they played out and fast forward. I realized it was actually the smeghead doing this. It was digging through my memory in an effort to figure out how I could see them. Once it got to the night of the false sun, the replay finally stopped, and the smeghead began to implant a story from its own memory into mine. In the memory, There was a tiny opening beneath our world. It was about the size of a golf hole right now, but much, much deeper. The opening led to a hole in the ceiling of a prison cell. It had called this cell home for a very, very long time, and it was far too big to fit through the opening I had seen. But then my mom didn't get into her coworker's car and the opening got much wider. I had prevented something that was supposed to happen, and based on the arbitrary rules dictated by what the Smeghead directors had conditioned to us to think as fate, my doing so resulted in a paradox. Apparently, paradoxes cause a lot of wear and tear on that whole fabric of space and time thing. From what the Smeghead showed me, I deduced that it knew that causing enough paradoxes would eventually make the hole big enough for it to escape through into our universe. And based on what I saw next, I'd choke the life from my mother with my own bare hands if I could prevent that from happening. This Smeghead showed me why it was put in the cell. I'll spare you, but let's just say if you knew the reason, you would applaud my hypothetical matricide. So then why don't I just tell you? A. I'm not trying to force any more horror on you than I need to right now, and B. Fuck you, dude. You think I want to sit here and try to conjure up enough synonyms for terrifying and needlessly cruel to properly describe that shit? If so, kindly suggest that you eat all of the dicks. The solution was thankfully a lot less demanding than that, though, right? You don't just try to change the future anymore. It's so simple. And if you really believe that, it would be so easy to constantly see what's coming and know that you can't do a goddamn thing about it. Then the guy eating all the dicks, the guy eating all the dicks can fill you in on the rest. Like in August of 2001, when I attend a class trip in New York City. I had been asleep the night we first touched down at JFK and didn't actually lay eyes on the World Trade Center until that morning. Still, I could tell something was not right. The entire city was crawling with blood-red smegheads, and when I finally came in sight of the Twin Towers themselves, that crawling turned literal. What had to be thousands of them were moving up and down the sides of either building to the point where the towers resembled two giant overrun anthills. I was 17 then, and in the 10 years since I had started seeing them, I'd become quite accustomed to the general sight of smegheads. But when I first saw this, I nearly lost my shit, both metaphorically and for realsies. My first instinct had been to run, but I was on a tour with my class and bolting wasn't really an option. I briefly considered trying to figure out a way to keep any of us from having to go inside, but I was worried that the effect would somehow trigger another paradox, and who knew what I'd find under my sink then. There were so many smegheads crawling along the outside that they blotted out most of the sunlight, draping every floor we visited in some somber darkness of its impending doom. Eventually, I figured out why they were crawling up the sides of the buildings. Each smeghead was tracking its assigned victim as their targets moved about the tower. Needless to say, I was the only one who noticed any of this. And the thing that made it truly surreal was that everyone around me was smiling and laughing and talking like nothing was wrong. Because it wasn't. Not yet. Of course, a tiny little stupid part of me kept insisting that I needed to tell someone. But who would I tell? And what would I even tell them? I knew this epic act of intentional violence, whatever it would be, wasn't going to take place for at least a couple of weeks. Smegheads emit a low hum that becomes increasingly louder as the intended event grows closer. At that point, the ones crawling up and down the towers were relatively quiet. But that was all I knew, and as you can clearly see, it wasn't exactly the easiest thing to explain. Eventually, though, I broke down, and as a compromise with little stupid me, I went and found a pen and hid in the bathroom where I scribbled a brief warning on the back of the stub from my admission ticket. In a month, everyone here will be dead. I figured, what could it possibly hurt? Now, remember that this was, of course, pre-9/11, and at the time, my idea hadn't seemed absolutely boneheaded like it does today. where it would probably just get me sent away to some secret CIA black site where they would ask me the kind of questions that require jumper cables on your genitals to properly answer. As we were passing the front counter on our way out, I casually pulled my phone from my pocket and accidentally dropped my ticket stub in the process. A few minutes later, we were outside and waiting to cross the street. I heard someone say, "Excuse me, sir." I turned around to see a smeghead standing behind me dressed as a security guard with my ticket stub clutched in its hand. The smeghead held up my stub and said, "I think you dropped this back there." I'm pretty sure I was the only one who could see the blurry protrusion which suddenly darted out from the smeghead's mouth and jabbed me in the chest as it spoke. Most of my class couldn't even recall seeing the security guard. All they remembered was us exiting the building and then me suddenly falling in from an oncoming bus. I was still in recovery when the attack on the World Trade Center took place, and I watched the second tower go down from my hospital bed. The one tiny sliver of a silver lining was that I no longer regretted trying to warn them. Sure, I've gotten an elbow that will never retain full range of motion and a knee that still sticks when it rains, but that definitely beats the guilt of thinking that I could have possibly prevented it. So fucking worth it. Now, this last part you're probably not gonna like. You know, I've been referring to my little diatribe here as a warning. Well, that was a bit of a lie, because warning implies that you had a chance of avoiding what was coming next. For the record, you never did. And in case you haven't figured out this next thing yet, it has selected you to become the newest member in an ever-growing army of possible paradox causers. I've figured out a way to track them down one by one that I can't reveal here. But the point of finding the newest recruits especially is so that I can tell you my story and warn you not to make the same mistakes I, and probably countless others, have already made. I haven't gotten to everyone yet, and sadly there are a lot of selfish idiots in the world, so God only knows how big that opening is by now. Just please heed my words. The biggest favor you could do yourself is to learn to ignore them. Your only other options are unleash an internal evil with the potential to devour our entire reality, or end up a lonely freak show who has nothing better to do with his time than rant about invisible lizard people to strangers on the internet. And trust me, that last one isn't nearly as fun as it sounds. Okay, what do you guys think? I missed a lot in the chat. Yeah, I thought it got a little boring in the end too, so I was worried that everyone would be gone when I came back to check. Oh no. I think it's better when we go to like the crappy possibly true stories. So let me see here. Maybe I'll find something else that you guys like. I know that one time I was doing this is, let me see what this is. I don't know if I've done this one. Let me know if you've heard this before. So, my brother received the creepiest phone call. So, I was working at a hotel in Albuquerque, the graveyard shift. I had been talking to the security guard, and he asked if he could get a ride home. So, instead of waiting 30 minutes for my shift to end, I just left and left a note from my boss and said that I left early because my brother was stranded outside of town and needed me to get him. Total lie on my part, but I needed a good excuse to leave early. I drop off the security guard at his place, then go home and go to sleep. A couple of hours of sleep, and I wake up to my phone ringing. It was my brother. He tells me he's stranded outside of town and needs me to go get him. I tell my brother the lie I told my boss and how much of a coincidence he is calling me is. He said that's not weird. He'll show me what's weird when I get there. So I get there and ask him what's weird. He puts his phone up to my ear and plays a message that he got when he woke up this morning. It's a voice that kind of sounded computerized, but mostly just creepy. says, "You're stuck." Freaked us both out. Never figured out where the call came from. Strangest, creepiest thing that's ever happened to me in my life. Have you guys heard me read that before? Gonna wait and see. That's weird. What's going on in the chat there? You can go to my Snapchat or Instagram if you must see my boring ass face. I'm just a nerdy mom from Michigan. You're gonna be disappointed. I don't have access to my Instagram or Snapchat right now because my phone is gone. So this weekend I'll get back on there. So that's I miss it. But then again, I don't know. I only use Snapchat when I'm gonna have a story up. Sometimes I'll put like a random thing on there. But Instagram, I usually like look at everyone else's stuff and like their stuff and then post my stuff on there. So kind of use it. I guess you would say I use it for advertising more than anything else. But I do like to like everybody's photos on there. Nah. All right. Anyway, we're gonna go back to this thing. It seemed to be a decent story off the start, but I just wondered if you guys had heard that or not. It seems like I've read this before, but I don't remember reading it for you guys before. This one says, I regularly saw a ghost girl that was pink and see-through. I'll check the chat after I'm done, and you guys can tell me if you've heard this before. I could have read this before and totally forgot, so. The house I grew up in was about 100 years old by the time my parents bought it. I lived there until I was 16. For as long as I can remember, I saw what I described as a girl that was pink and see-through. I always called her Pam. It's been 10 years since I lived in that house, and I still remember her vividly. My dad got a bit weirded out when I would talk about Pam, and finally when I was 13, my mom put me in therapy because Pam was still something I brought up regularly. In order to stop my parents from thinking I was crazy, I just stopped talking about Pam completely and went on with life. That was until my parents decided to put the house up for sale when I was 16. Just 2 weeks before moving into our new house, I was sleeping, but was woken up by Pam standing in my doorway and pointing into the bathroom that was directly across the hall. All Pam said was, "Look, my mom." And when I looked to see who she was pointing at, I saw a woman hanging by a cord from the light fixture in the bathroom. I remember the woman looked as though she had been hanging there for a while, when all of a sudden the woman's boot fell off and I abruptly woke up. I ran into my parents' room to tell them what had happened, and my mom looked at me disappointed because I was talking about Pam again after having kept quiet about her for years. I concluded that it was just a bad dream and went back to bed with no other incidences. Until a few days later. I was once again asleep and dreaming that I was woken up by crying coming from the bathroom from across the hall. I got out of bed and walked over to see what was going on. At that point, I saw the same woman that was hanging from the bathroom light fixture, sobbing and holding a very real little girl under the water in the bathtub. It was then that I realized that the little girl was the little pink see-through girl I had seen my entire life. It was Pam, and she wasn't moving. I immediately woke up and was crying uncontrollably. I was 16 years old and ran into my parents' room like a 5-year-old, jumped into bed with my mom. My dad was at work at the time. I told my mom what had happened, and my mom could not see how upset I was and tried to calm me down. At that same moment, the pink and transparent version of Pam walked through the door. I looked at my mom and just whispered, "Oh my God, she's in here." And I pulled the covers up to my neck and just looked at my mom, terrified. My mom was speechless. At that point, Pam slowly walked to the side of the bed and began shoving me into my mom. I had never been touched by a Pam before. I was screaming and crying and kept yelling, "Stop touching me." And all that my mom could reply was, "I'm not touching you." and she was being pushed out of the other side of the bed. After what seemed like forever, Pam stopped and slowly walked out of the room. I cried myself to sleep, and my mom stayed awake to see what else would happen. I never spent another night in the house, but 2 weeks after we moved out completely, the house caught fire. The entire backside, as well as the entire garage, burnt. The official cause was spontaneous combustion. The house that my family lived in for 25 years has since been bought and sold 8 times within 10 years. No one wants to stay in that house, and I really think that Pam is the reason why. That's so confusing. Like, why would a ghost girl whose mother killed her be angry at the girl that can see her? It's so confusing to me. I know that most mediums say that the spirits are confused as to what's going on. Like maybe she mistook the girl as the mother that drowned her. I don't know. Ha, there's my husband. The spirits, Autumn says the spirits in my home love Snapchat. Oh, really? Hmm. Oh, that's nice. Thank you, Nono. Hey, Antonio. Glad you caught it too. We're about an hour in. We started trying to do like SCPs, and we did a couple of. I did a Reddit story that. I think probably the Reddit story would have been more exciting if I would have like been able to be more dramatic with it and had some music and a visual to go with it, but that's okay. Spontaneous combustion, weird shit. Hey. Since it seems no one's heard these, excuse me, I didn't mean to cough into the microphone. Yeah, he's my husband. He's at work. Yeah, I think he has to say that too. Okay, since you guys haven't heard these, I'm going to go on to the next one. I swear I saw my father when he wasn't really there. I live in a condominium and we own 2 apartments on the 7th and 8th floor. The only way to move in between them is to step out of the apartment, take the elevator or staircase, and enter the other one. One night we ran out of ice cream upstairs and my mom told me to go get some from the downstairs freezer. So I took the keys to the 7th floor's apartment, and since it was dinner time, no one was there. I walked into the pitch dark and realized that someone was sitting on the sofa. So I flipped on the switch and see my dad just sitting there. It was kind of weird, but I just went to get the ice cream and asked if he had the key to lock up. No answer. I shrugged and thought, well, if he came in and locked the door behind him, he must have one. Went back upstairs, and my dad was sitting there eating dinner. I freaked the fuck out and asked, how the heck did he get up here so fast? And everyone told me he'd been there the whole time. Told them it wasn't possible because I just saw him downstairs, but no one believed me. And now I never go down there alone. Well, some of these are kind of freaky, better than some of the last ones I've gotten. Take a drink of whiskey. Dude, it's like noon here, so I got a lot of stuff to do. Ooh. Yeah, can you guys hear me okay? My throat was giving out there. As I have mentioned before, this has been the worst allergy season ever. Starting in May, I think, when I lost my voice for a little bit, and then I had to go to the doctor, and I don't think I've ever really gotten my voice fully back yet. I said that in the last stream. Man, you guys are too nice. Nope, allergies. Can I tell the difference? You can tell the difference if you take allergy medicine and then you still have a messed up throat, but the rest of you feels better. It's allergies. If you take allergy medicine and you're not feeling any better as a result, you probably have something more along the lines of a cold that requires antibiotics. But my throat's a little wonky. Took my dog for a walk this morning, so outside in the fresh air in it, it's either beneficial or really screws with me. So let's see what happens today. Moving on. An elderly woman suddenly appeared in my sister's room. Again, I haven't seen anyone say that they've heard these before, so I'm going to just go with the fact that I haven't read these before, which is kind of confusing because I've had it saved in my computer's tab and haven't read them because I thought I've read these before. um, I was home alone for a weekend a few years ago while I was still in high school. After school one day, I was driving home, and when I passed in front of my house, I thought I saw some old lady in white clothes in my sister's room looking through the window. I thought it was stupid, so I went into the room to check out what it actually was, but I couldn't find anything. I pretty much forgot all about it until later that night, when I got a call from a very panicked and scared neighbor saying that there was some old lady pacing back and forth in my sister's room. I still have no idea what it was, and I've never seen anything like it since. That's weird that your neighbor called you to tell you that. That makes it scarier and more valid to me. I don't think I'm the only one. I think from what I've heard from a lot of people, it's been a rough summer. I'm not sure why, but oh, so you have heard the one? Okay. So we'll go through. I don't remember. Um I think I've read this one too, but it must have been a really long time ago. We heard a ghost typing on our keyboard. In my childhood home, I would often hear touch typing coming from the computer downstairs early in the mornings. I didn't think much of it at first when my parents were from home, and it wouldn't be uncommon to wake up in the morning to hear mom typing away at the computer. One day I got up and called out to my mom, assuming she was down there working, as I could hear typing. No answer. No one was down there at all. I was sure I heard typing. This began happening regularly. I figured I was so used to hearing typing from downstairs that I was hearing things that weren't there, so I didn't mention anything to anyone, figuring that I was going crazy. This went on for a period of 6 months, on and off. The sound of fast typing and fast, furious clicking of a mouse as if someone was frustrated. One morning, I was eating my breakfast when I heard Mom at the top of the stairs call out to me, "You're not down there on the computer already?" I froze and ran out to her. I was amazed that she had heard it too. She was convinced she could hear typing, yet no one was down there. I told her about all the times I'd been hearing it, and then my sister opened up about hearing it regularly too when no one was down there. I wasn't crazy after all. I set out to try and catch whatever was causing it and try to discover a rational explanation for it. I'd sprint out of my bedroom to the top of the stairs where I was able to look down into the room to see if anyone was at the computer. No such luck. And every time I got there, it stopped. This went on for a couple of years, and we just learned to kind of live with it. It wasn't every day. I was down there once when the ceiling light globe in the center of the room began to flash very fast strobe-like. Then it exploded and glass went shattering all across the room. I was lucky I ran out of the room when it started happening because I was scared. The whole mysterious typing. If I hadn't have ran, I would have been hit with bits of light bulb and glass. Around that same time, I was on the computer at home by myself when something happened that resulted in me never being alone in that room again. I felt and heard this really sharp intake of breath directly behind my right shoulder near my ear. I've never ran so fast in my life and was hesitant going in that room ever again. Prior to that, the whole typing thing had just been something weird and spooky, not scary. Still makes my heart race when I think about it today. I've never really encountered anything like this before or since all those events. I don't really believe in ghosts either, but I'm open to the possibility of something which scientists don't have a proper explanation for yet. Yeah, I think that there's too many weird things yet to be undiscovered. So, well, that's really nice. Thank you, Bernadette. You've heard the keyboard one too? Dude. Too old. Married and old. Logan, hey. Ew, old stalker lady. Morning, Duchess. Oh, yeah. I can feel like that whole area right underneath your eye. It feels like there's like a something setting on it. That's like not a good feeling. Like they're poofy. Alrighty. So far, Autumn has heard these. I don't know if anyone else has heard these. So I lived inside of an actual haunted house. For one, I always felt like I was being watched in my room, and if I had the door open to the hallway, I would swear I would see someone walk by out of the corner of my eye. We had 2 cats, and sometimes they'd be in my room sleeping, and then all of a sudden, they would sit bolt up and stare out the door, and nothing I did could move them for the longest time. This happened often. One day in my bathroom, the shelf that had my sister's beauty stuff on it randomly lost hold of all of the items. The thing was, the shelf wasn't loose or hanging, and all the stuff had to bounce out of a 2-inch high lip into the sink. Another time in the middle of the night, my sister's 100-year-old dresser she got as a gift from her grandma just fell over. This thing weighed a ton, and it was built like a tank. Sister said she heard the sound of someone pushing. Mom and sister used to yell at me for sneaking around the house, only I wasn't home, or I was in my room. They said they saw a man in the shadows that was about my height. One day, we also ran into the old owner, and my mom casually asked if the lady had ever experienced anything in the house. The lady started crying and said no one believed her, but yes, she experienced a lot of stuff. I moved out around that time, and I do not miss that place. Whoa, I don't remember this. Had you guys heard that one before? And if you've heard it, has it been by me? Was it by me, Autumn, that read it? Where's puffy eyes? That's funny. It's not my eyes. It's like that spot below it, so it makes like the area under my eyes look sunken in. So that's awesome. Hey, damn gypsy, glad you made it. Okay, that's good. You're late. Oh, it's fine. It's fine. It's time. It's time for distracting chat. Distract and chat. That's what my live read should be called. Distract and chat. Chat and distract. Something like that. Shiny. Squirrel. Okay, I think these are paranormal. It just says people reveal scary stories that still make their stomach twist. But so far, they all seem to be paranormal. Okay, this is number 9. A car malfunction magically saved my life. In 2002, I lived in the East San Francisco Bay Area with my husband and 2 toddlers. I was grieving over the sudden death of my mother a month before. She'd had a major heart attack and died at the age of 52. On an average day, I left my babies at home with my husband to run a quick errand by myself. I drove a block over through downtown Hayward to hit up the grocery store. I was on my way home and stopped at a red light waiting to make a left turn. The intersection had all blind corners, so it was difficult to see oncoming traffic. My light turned green. I glanced both ways, waited the appropriate second, and stepped on the gas pedal. It wouldn't move. I tried again. Nothing. The car behind me honked. I looked down under my pedal to see if something had possibly rolled under the pedal and found nothing. I looked up, and suddenly a huge work truck loaded down with equipment ran his red light at what must have been 50. I was stunned. I gasped, quickly pulled myself together, stepped on the gas pedal, and it worked with no hesitation. Suddenly, I smelled my mother's favorite perfume. Really amazing experience. That's not scary. That's awesome. And that's a reason why some people believe in things like that. Definitely. I know when my grandmother passed away, and sometimes once in a while I'll smell roses. And what's funny is my stepdaughter's middle name is Rose, and so is her grandma's name is Rose. But my grandmother had it was her second husband. She's only married twice. But I was just a little kid when she married him, and he had this house. When you walked out of their slider, it was just a little house. It's a 2-bedroom house, but he was a very meticulous gardener, and he had roses all over the back of his house, and had made this like diamond-shaped patio right off the back of their house, And all around the outside of that, he had these rose bushes. I mean, he was the kind that like trimmed them perfectly and covered them when it was cold outside. He knew what he was doing. I've never mastered that skill. So when I went to her house and they were in bloom, all you could smell were roses coming in from outside. And every time there'd be occasions right after she passed where I'd smell roses all the time and I couldn't explain, or when be sad. And now randomly, without explanation, I'll hear them, but it's once in a while. So okay, bye Jeremy. Bye. Know something's gonna happen before it does. Me? Oh, Logan might be. Are you at the beginning of the? Maybe Logan's at the beginning of. Oh, Rob's leaving too. Okay, bye, Rob. Alrighty, everyone's still here then, eh? Read a couple more. See how this goes. Let's see. We saw a light gray mass that terrified our horses. So, my family owns a decent sized horse boarding facility, and when we first had it going, we used to do a bed check as a family. Bed check is just making sure all the lights and fans were off, as well as looking at the horses for injuries and if they had blankets during the winter. Well, we had just got back from eating out, and it was a moonless night during fall. As we stepped out of the truck, this large light gray mass stood up and took off loping toward our pastures. It was about the size of a single cab pickup truck. It made no noises other than it hitting the ground as it ran. The only other proof that it was real to us was that the horses were turned out and that night screamed and stampeded across the pasture it had jumped into. We did a double count of all the horses that night, and not a single one was missing. I still have yet to see it again, and I hope I never do, or at least there's some explanation for it. That's odd. I've never heard that story before. Anybody else hear that one before? Check in the chat. I don't see anything. Distracted chat. All right. I think this will be our last one, and then we might wrap it up here. It's quite lengthy. I mean, it's not like super long, but it's one of the longer ones I've seen so far scanning this. An unknown creature hid inside of the attic. So there was a small door that led to an attic space in my bedroom, 11 to 13, and it became a habit that I would shut the door as I walked into my bedroom a couple times a week. I didn't think anything of it. I just assumed my mom didn't close it all the way when she left it. After a while, I made the mistake of joking with her when she made a comment about me not picking up after myself. I said something like, "Every night I have to close the attic door behind you. How about you shut it all away when you're done?" She then informed me that she hasn't been up in the attic in months. Asked my brother, no. Asked my father, nope. So then I started to pay really close attention to it, making sure it was closed in the morning, checking it after school, checking after dinner, then head up and open. After a couple of months of wondering, studying, experimenting, I thought I'd see what happened if I just don't shut it. Open the door before school and check it after school, still open. Check it after dinner, still open. Before bed, still open. Now I'm laying in bed, mind going crazy with the open door across the room. Decide to check it out, so I roll over and focus on the black space in the attic to see a face staring back at me. I bolt downstairs, wake up my parents, get ridiculed by my brother, switch bedrooms with my brother, move into a new house about 6 months later due to expanding household. New physics teacher and his wife bought our house. I could have forgotten all about the event and chalked it up to me having an overactive mind. But then my senior year, I discovered how awesome our physics teacher was. Became my favorite class and by far my favorite teacher. End of senior year, my friend and I take our VHS camcorder around town, doing mostly silly things, but then I took it to my old house to see what they've done with the place. We got a very fun tour. I got to tell stories about all the projects my dad did while we were still part of that were still part of the house. Then the wife leads us upstairs to show us the sewing room. I ask, jokingly, "Notice anything strange in the room?" Her face goes blank. On camera, she asks what I mean, and I try to shrug it off, but end up saying something about the attic door. She confirmed that every time she comes up to sew, the attic door is open. She then tells us that the second day of being in the house, their dog, German Shepherd, had gone into the room but would not go back downstairs. He started barking and couldn't be consoled, and then jumped through the window, landing on the tin roof over the porch and then running off. The dog didn't come back until the next day and has not stepped foot into the hallway that leads upstairs since. I had the initial thought that it could be that I could show my parents and brother the story I had on film, but I decided to just let it be. Holy shit! What? That's crazy. Oh my god. So, lesson learned. I don't know about you guys. If you were in the market to buy a house and you fell in love with a house or found out there was a haunted house for sale, would you knowingly buy it? Or what people perceive as a haunted house? Would you buy it? Or would you felt drawn to buy it? First time for that one. Well, a couple of times when someone died I knew hours or before I found out. Yeah, I had never heard that before, Autumn. My birthday's not till December. My birthday's actually a week before Christmas, which I used to hate. I used to hate it because, most kids, if you have a summer birthday, you can relate how you don't get to have that class birthday party, which is fine. Who cares? You grow up. The thing that sucked was the way it was handled when I was growing up. And I'll just leave it at the fact that for me, it's a big deal when everyone has a birthday. Um, I slacked on this year, but usually I bake a cake the night before and fill the house with balloons, and you can have cake for breakfast. And I sucked this year at it, so I get a big fail. But birthdays are important to me for others' sake. You wouldn't buy a haunted house? No. Yes, you would. I have too many souls around me. Yep, Bernadette, from what I've learned, that's true. You have 2 in your home now? Um, Maybe you're like me, Autumn, and people will perceive this however they want to. But I feel like no matter where I live, there's something around me anyway. Seems like a good bad thing. Um, where you question yourself, did you just see that? Did you just hear that? Or if you ask someone if they heard it and they didn't. Um, People always think I'm crazy anyway, so I don't really care what other people think. I just know that there's too many odd occurrences forever and ever for that to just be my imagination all the time, seeing as I don't require medication to, function. Depends on the feel of the house. Yeah, there you go. In my family, everybody's birthday is in July, but my brother and mine is the end of July. My mom was always broke by the time my birthday came, and I never really got anything. We have little gremlin shadows. Oh, that's weird. That's creepy. It sounds strange, but I grew up with demons as my friends. I have to keep protection spells up. I would buy a haunted house. Yeah. It was funny. I get these emails because I'm forever house shopping unintentionally, and I got this one on my email this morning, and it's like this house in the middle of nowhere, which is what I prefer because we don't live in the middle of nowhere now, but I would really love to. So this one house is cool. It's not huge or anything, but it has a really big backyard and a deck, and then a finished basement with a walkout because I like that extra space. But on the side of the walkout, is usually just grass, right? Because you've got grass on either side of wherever the walkout is for your basement, if you're picturing what I'm picturing, and then a deck above it or whatever. And then you've got the grass hill on each side if it's elevated, which it usually is, because if it's a walkout basement, they've had to dig around it. So, but this one house had like the garage had its own separate basement with a really wide door. And instantly I thought, oh, I bet that used to be like a corner or like a morgue in someone's house. Creepy. I feel like that's just, I don't know. I don't know if anyone who's ever moved into a house like that has had good experiences. I'm just saying, haunted or not, going into a house that you know would intentionally be bad, I wouldn't do that. So there's certain things that I wouldn't do. There's a house around the corner from me too that used to be, I don't know what you call that when it's like in someone's home, a mortician. So there used to be someone who was a mortician, and they had the practice in the basement. And I only know this because years ago when my friend was looking for a house to rent. That house was for rent. It's now for sale by someone that's fixing it up, but it was for rent and it was really reasonable. And I'm like, why is that so beautiful? And then you go through all the pictures and you see in the basement that they still have like the table and the sink and everything that the mortician would use, or whoever, prepares the bodies, that person. Am I using the right word? I hope I am. Hey, Autumn. Everyone could use extra help with that. I think I'm going to read one more and then we're going to call it good. Let's see. This one is called My MP3 Player Made Disturbing Sounds That Scared Me Half to Death. 7 years ago, I lived in a 2-story farmhouse. It was built in 1908 and was both large and old. I was packing clothes and putting them in a small, unused bedroom. I was wearing my MP3 player, and the last time I checked, it showed 3/4 battery life. I was on my 4th or so trip when I was hauling a load of shirts on hangers. It occurred to me that the closet was empty too. Perfect, I'll just hang them back up in there. This closet was almost a second room. It had a short, glossy wooden door. The area was 3 times as long and wide, with hardwood floors. The lacquer still smelled, even though I'm sure it was fresh 100 years ago. I ducked fully inside and thought, this is a weird little place to be. Suddenly, the music doubled in volume and changed to something that wasn't music. It was, I don't even know, rapid nonsense. Fast electronic babbling. Scared the fuck out of me. I flew straight out, looked at my player, and it was dead. Now, I'm a pretty rational guy that my MP3 player would sometimes show more battery life than it actually had. It's done that before. And maybe the sounds were some sort of malfunction before shutting down. I don't really believe in ghosts, but I'm telling you, it shocked and frightened me to the core. My skin felt electric for an hour after. And I've never felt comfortable in that room again. That's scary. I don't know about you guys, but that's scary. That's freaking scary. Yeah. Let's see. I'm just going to check the chat. Ooh, Sagittarius, me too. Fire. Fire, good. Nice, sounds like a Nan. Yeah, it does. One of the main houses I grew up in, Damn Gypsy says, I used to be so scared of the bathroom, and the steps would always give me a weird being watched feeling. Not sure if it was haunted, but it creates a little creeps me out a little. Autumn, there may have been something there, Damn Gypsy. How old were you when you lived there? The story on how my mom inherited the house is tragedy in its own, but no deaths. Duchess, that's true for me too. Every house I've lived in is paranormal activity and shadowy stuff. Well, I don't, that's what I'm saying. If everyone else doesn't experience this stuff, I don't think it's the house. I think some people just have like a magnet. Do you know what I mean? Like a magnet. So over the years, I've learned that you can interact with stuff, but the negative energy isn't allowed here. And you have to say that often because sometimes it likes to creep in. Little negative incidences can let it. It's like a crack in glass that, if left unguarded, can become worse and worse. So that can sound crazy, and that's totally fine. I don't care if people think I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. They're crazy. But yeah, that's what I believe. And I believe there's way too much in life and the universe that you're not going to know until you're on the other side. So I'll wait. The house I grew up in belonged to my dad's family, and it had prison cells in the basement. What? That's crazy. You guys could write a story probably about that. Whoa. That's scary. Ooh, I got chills. I got chills. House I was talking about, the next door house, the basement had prison cells in it. Scariest thing I've ever seen. Wait, you guys both said that back to back. Yep. Sea salt. Sea salt at the front and back door. Yep. If it gets real bad, you can do all the windows. I have a locket with sea salt on right now. Sea salt in it on my person. It seemed like I had a lot of negative energy just bombarding me lately, and I needed something that was next level. So, yeah. You call me crazy, it's fine. Love the darkness. I turn off all the lights and close my eyes. You know what? I don't love I've never loved the dark because I always can immediately feel someone right in my face staring at me. I don't know if anyone else has ever experienced that, and I've never really said that out loud. My family kind of makes fun of me because I don't like the dark. But as soon as I turn off, like if it's dark, I immediately can feel someone right in my face staring at me. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I don't like people right in my face like that anyway. So, yeah. Yeah, I need to do a barrier around my property too. My grandpa said it had something to do with slaves. That's horrible. I would love to know more about that, Logan and Damn Gypsy. The owner's dog. I think that's horrible too, though. I mean, why would you have dogs in cages in your basement? Some people shouldn't just own pets at all, ever. I feel like I see better in pitch. Better in pitch darkness. Oh yeah, I get it. If I feel safe and I let my eyes adjust to it, it's not so bad. But most of the time, it immediately feels like someone's almost like, someone's getting on your nerves and they want to talk to you. Does that make sense? Only I can't fucking hear what they're saying, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. Whoa. Oh yeah, definitely. Not just slaves, but anyone that's been mistreated in life. I feel like even if they move on, I feel like their energy leaves a mark where they were, and that takes on a life of its own. It's really important that people understand that. It's not even a matter if the spirits moved on or not. It's a matter of how horribly were they treated in this life, and the fact that they're not allowed to move on. Sometimes they get trapped, or their energy was just so oppressed that it just marked the earth forever. And I think that's where a lot of the horrible slavery and when they talk about, I'm going to sidetrack, and Autumn's going to say squirrel, but when they say things about ancient Indian burial grounds, it's not the fact that Indians were evil and trying to like revenge. It's the fact that they were treated so fucking horribly that's going to leave a mark. When things have been done wrong and they were never righted, I'm not sure how you fix that and once it's moved on. So, yeah, please do. Crazy. That's crazy. There's got to be at least, even if it's like a second-hand story, there's got to be at least one story there. Yeah. As I said before, my own now is 107 years old. I've never had an issue until my younger sister started playing show tunes music, and now my power tools off switches won't work. Whoa, that's scary. Some say they're here to protect the land. Yeah, That's being violated daily now. Oof. It's in the area or around it. Yeah, I think so too. Got a bunch of notifications all of a sudden on YouTube, and I don't know. Must be the day for uploads for people because I was checking YouTube the past few days and I hadn't seen like any um people don't understand. Okay, someone just left a comment, which is really nice. Um on the thing I posted yesterday on the willows. No, that was just the part 1 of 1. The rest of it's all on Patreon. So I thought I would anytime I do something on Patreon for free for all, eventually I'll post it on YouTube. Um So anyone that wants to hear the rest, it's on Patreon. So this guy said, "What a beautiful description of the Danube, made that much better by your wonderful voice. Looking forward to the next installment." But he won't hear it unless he goes to Patreon. So I don't know if I made that clear, and I don't want to keep talking about Patreon because I know it drives people insane. But it's the point of the fact that, in case you haven't noticed, or if I'm wrong, please correct me, I have seen very few horror narrations on YouTube, and I follow a lot. And I know that a lot of people stop doing it, but it's the fact that they're completely demonetizing narration channels. Um, and that's another reason why I got to keep mine different because apparently duplication is the similarity between channels, which is bullshit because there's like 1,000 makeup channels out there. So that doesn't make any sense at all. But I've been trying to create a separate site from this for horror to thrive and not just narrations, but people that create, artistic works, whether it be makeup or animations, um, anything like that, and writers too. So it's all kind of gathered together so they can be there, and then you can go to their website from there, etc. But it might be successful, might not. Who knows? I don't know, but I had to try. Um, Sometimes we're here to protect the land. I remember being really scared when I went down there. My family lived there until I was 7. Whoa. Yeah, I don't know who would get a good feeling about going into a basement and seeing jail cells, Logan. I'm not sure who would be okay with that. Someone who's sadistic would probably get a kick out of it. I love willows. Yeah, I hope you listened to the last part went up last night, Bernadette. So I think you listened to it. I have to go back and look at I don't know. I've recorded the first chapter of the new audiobook that I'm doing this morning, so I did that right away and I have to edit that later. And I know I checked the Patreon notifications, but I can't remember if you said you already listened or not. So Jeremy doesn't. And all slaves are not treated bad. That is just government school for you. Oh, no, 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 no. We're not, no. No human was meant to be owned by another human. Treated bad. Being owned by another person was wrong all by itself. That's not government school. It's just it's innately wrong from the core of the soul of a being of a person. Shouldn't be owned by another person. But I'm gonna let you just do you. Thanks, Antonio. Distinct and wonderful. That's nice to say. It sounds scratchy and feels raw right now. Doesn't matter what type of container metal locket the sea salt is in. Nope. I actually ordered it's supposed to be an urn locket. And so it was the only thing I could find that would contain the salt, if that makes sense. And noted, you kind of have to just put the locket over the sink and pour the salt in because they give you this funnel and it's way too skinny for salt molecules to make it through. So then I immediately went to, what if someone was trying to put their loved one in this thing? It would be disastrous. Like I would probably lose my shit trying to put my loved one into a locket and the stuff's going all over the place. So now I know why people would order it and just have it sent to them, but ugh, I can't do it. Anyway, it's an urn locket and I have salt in it. I'm going to try to take a video of the power to issue. I've been finishing the basement and my saw switch stopped working. That's scary. You could get hurt. It should be that something means something that means something to you. No. You can actually just you put the power in it. It's the intention of it. So how do I let you know what I find out? Share it with us. You can email it to me or you can share it with us in a chat. It's your choice. It's duchessdark676@gmail.com. All my links are always in the description box. It's a standard, like when I live stream or when I upload a video, all that stuff is in there. I have a lot of stuff in my description box. A lot. Hmm. Makes them more powerful though. It does, but when you don't have anything to keep the salt in, it makes it hard to keep the salt on you. I had it in a plastic baggie until I could get my lock because it was just so bad. It was so bad that I just had to have something right away. Yeah, we're not going to go into this, but history is written for you in a specific way so that you only have a specific amount of information. Do your own research. Don't believe everything that people tell you. Do research. And if you have any Native American relatives, you really should try to branch outside of that because they leave all of that stuff out of there. I don't. I was thinking about getting a P.O. box. Do you guys think I should do that? I thought it would be cool to send out Christmas cards, but I don't want to get carried away. I don't know. I'll just wait and see if everybody else thinks I should get a P.O. box or not. I'm not sure. I know that some people have people send them stuff, but they usually have way more subscribers than I do when they get a P.O. box. So I will consider that. Let me see here. I mean, not really, because retention rate, I mean, I have almost 5,000 subscribers, but the most video, let me see if I click on here and go to it. The on average watch lately, and I don't know how people keep finding Albert Fish. It must pop up in someone else's search. So on average, let's see, I would say that people watch between 300 views, and as of late, that's being generous the past week. Or let me see, like the last Serial Killer Saturday on Jeffrey Dahmer has 535 views. So yeah, I mean, there's not even going to be that many people that would even know about Christmas cards anyway, because there's not that many people that come and listen anymore. Or True Stories, 10 cult stories, that was 776, and that was June 9th. So more people have been listening to a lot of my older Serial Killer Saturdays, so I don't know. It's random how people suddenly appear. I don't know where they come from. Oh. Yes, most readers have them. Bernadette, who? I recently went to a freak show in Battle Creek, and it made me think of you. A freak show? Is that where people are on display that have some sort of physical abnormality? That's cruel. Or is it just people are doing crazy stunts? Is that what you mean? I'm thinking that's what you mean. I have a tattoo that protects me. I have a tattoo that's on my left inside lower arm. And it's 3 tattoos in one. And it's a circle that's a yin-yang. But within the yin-yang is the mother-daughter symbol intertwined going into the dark and light, and which is also combined into the eternity symbol. And my daughter has a matching one. Oh, you've been looking up my old stuff? Some of it's really bad. I just leave it up because I figure there's some I've taken down, like my some of my old poetry stuff was just embarrassing. Um, but I also did want to re-record it, so that's another reason why I took it down too. And I don't know if it'll just be on Patreon or here, but it's probably going to be on Patreon just because it's my own personal writings. For a long time, I only did stuff that I wrote, which was, good and bad. I don't know. Pentagram, it protects me from being possessed. It was totally awesome. P.T. Barnum will not be disappointed. How old is your daughter? Old enough to have a tattoo. You have an Ohana tattoo. That's so cool. Ohana means family, and no one gets left behind. Mm-hmm. Keeping my obsession with Hawaii alive, Bernadette Reeves. Oh my gosh. I've been helping people with activity in their homes. You have? Cool. Sometimes I wish everyone that was in the chat was local because it'd be so cool to have like a meetup and just talk about stuff or go on ghost hunts or, tour old creepy houses. And I don't know. I dream. I'm a dreamer. Anyways, I think we're going to be wrapping it up now. And I will be posting a video Saturday. I have some editing to do for a book chapter that I recorded this morning, but I don't have to do it today. I have some other stuff I need to do, though. And so for now, I'm going to wrap it up and thank you for coming and listening and talking to me and squirreling it up with me. And Logan says, I have half a yin yang. Reason being is when I get married, they get the other half. Oh, that's pretty cool. It was more sword sawing, glass, eating fire stuff. I don't know if anybody, before I get off of here, I have an obsession with, I'm going to say bye in a minute, but I have an obsession with the Renaissance Festival because there's a fire eater there and a guy that like drives a nail into what is apparently a very well-crafted nasal cavity. But yeah, I love the Renaissance Festival more so for all the like little shows that they have on all over the place. And I kind of drive my family crazy. Like, let's hurry up and get to this site because they're going to be live at 2. And so we're like, got a map and we're going all over the place. And meanwhile, people are just casually walking around, eating super expensive food and buying super expensive stuff. And I just want to see all the shows there. So, and on that note, I'm going to thank you for coming. You guys are great. This was very entertaining. Oh, the head on the little person who was Houdini type was Rudio. And I'm going to say until next time, listen Saturday. There should be a video up Saturday. Could do it Friday night, I guess. No, it'll be Saturday just because you guys are used to it and I don't want to sway from the usual thing. But on that note, before it gets too noisy in here, I'm going to say thank you all. And until next time, bye. Bye. Love you. Bye.